A nurse in Ohio put $10,000 into one fund in 2010 and forgot the account existed. 15 years later, her brokerage showed $112,000 sitting there untouched. She did not pick stocks. She did not time the market. She did not have an advisor. She clicked 3 letters, set a monthly deposit, and went back to her life. That is the entire story. Meanwhile, her coworker, same salary, same years of work, followed every rule her financial planner gave her: balanced portfolio, international exposure, bonds for safety. She ended up with $29,000, 2 women, same money, same time. One ended up with a down payment. The other ended up with 4 times her life. Nobody tells you this part because the truth is embarrassing to the industry. The wound nobody talks about is this: most people who lose the wealth game do not lose it by picking wrong stocks. They lose it by being placed into portfolios designed to protect fees, not them. You were told diversification keeps you safe. You were told risk means danger. You were told index funds are for people who do not know better. Every one of those sentences was written to keep you paying somebody. The machine behind your retirement account is not evil. It is efficient. And efficiency, when you're the product, looks exactly like friendly advice delivered over coffee in a glass office. The 3 funds we are about to look at turn $10,000 into roughly $100,000 inside 15 years. They are not secrets. They are not meme tickers. They are boring. They sit in plain sight on every brokerage app on your phone. Your advisor knows them. Your cousin knows them. The reason you were never placed in them is not performance. It is commission structure. Before we name them, you need to understand the quiet machine that made them work. Because if you only learn the tickers, you will sell them the first time the news gets loud. Here's the lie you were sold. The lie is that safety comes from spreading your money across hundreds of things you do not understand. The pitch sounds reasonable. Own a little of everything. Never lose too much in one place. Sleep at night. The problem is the sleeping pill is also a wealth blocker. When you own everything, you own the losers, you own the dying industries. You own the bloated legacy names that have not grown in 15 years. Your winners get dragged down by the corpses. Your planner calls this balance. The spreadsheet calls it dilution. The nurse in Ohio did the opposite. She concentrated. She picked one engine of the economy and rode it without flinching. The engine she picked was not a stock. It was not a country. It was not a theme your cousin shared on Facebook. It was a specific slice of the economy where all the real money was being made. That slice is the layer that every other industry sits on top of. Banks run on it, hospitals run on it, your car runs on it, your phone is it, your job increasingly is it. When you own that layer, you do not need to predict winners. The layer itself is the winner because everybody pays rent to it, whether the economy is booming or bleeding. Your advisor will not point you here because the products that track this layer pay almost nothing in fees. A fund that charges you 0.03% cannot fund a corner office. So you get pointed at actively managed funds charging 1% or more. 1% sounds tiny. 1% over 30 years quietly eats roughly a third of your final number. A third of your retirement is the cost of the coffee meetings. That is the hidden system, not a villain in a suit. Just an incentive so heavy it bends every piece of advice in the same direction. Now watch what happens when you turn away from that incentive. The nurse did not know any of this. She just saw the word technology and pressed buy. She bought a fund ticker with 3 letters, QQQ. It tracks the 100 largest non-financial companies on one specific exchange. Those companies happen to be the ones building the layer $10,000 into QQQ in early 2010. Hold do nothing. By late 2024, that position was worth roughly $104,000. No trading, no genius, no stock picking, just owning the 100 companies that build the internet, the cloud, the phone in your hand, and the software your boss makes you use. The second fund is even more concentrated. 3 letters, again, SMH. It holds only the companies that design and manufacture the chips. Everything else depends on. $10,000 into SMH in 2010 grew to roughly $130,000 by 2024. Same math, same in action, different slice. Chips are the oil of this century. Every car, every fridge, every fighter jet, every data center, every toy that blinks needs them. The companies that make them collect a tax on civilization. The third fund is the quiet one. Your advisor actively avoids mentioning. 3 letters, XLK. The technology slice of the largest 500 companies in America. $10,000 into XLK in 2010 reached roughly $98,000 by late 2024. Slightly lower, slightly safer, still 10 times. 3 funds, 3 tickers, 3 boring decisions. Each one quietly turning the salary of a normal working person into the net worth of someone you used to think got lucky. Here's what is actually happening underneath. When you buy one of these funds, you're not buying a bet, you're buying a small ownership slice of the layer. The layer gets bigger every year because every other industry keeps outsourcing its brain to it. Retail moved online, banks moved to software, medicine moved to data, cars became computers on wheels. Every one of those migrations is a payment from the old economy to the layer, and every payment shows up inside these 3 funds as revenue, earnings, and price appreciation. This is why the funds do not need a genius manager. The migration itself is the engine. You're not trusting a person, you're trusting a direction civilization has already chosen. Now, here's the part your advisor will twist. They will say past performance does not guarantee future returns. That sentence is legally required. It is also used to scare you out of obvious patterns. Yes, these funds can fall. In 2022, QQ dropped about 33% in a single year. The nurse did not sell. She did not check. 2 years later, she was at a new high. That is the other half of the hidden system. The funds work only for people who do not touch them. The moment you start flinching at headlines, you become the product the fees feed on. Volatility is the price of admission. If you cannot pay it, the 10 times door stays locked. Your advisor knows this, which is why they sell you the smooth ride instead. The smooth ride arrives at a small number. So the real lesson is not the tickers, it is the posture. Pick the layer, fund it monthly. Do not look, let 15 years pass. Let the migration do the work. The nurse in Ohio did not have extra information, she had extra stillness. In a market that rewards attention economy, stillness is the rarest asset on earth. There's one more thing nobody told you. These 3 funds overlap. A lot if you buy all 3. You're mostly buying the same 20 companies 3 times in different wrappers. That is not a flaw. It is a feature overlapping the layer, means the layer is narrow. Narrow means if you own one of these funds, you already own the future the other 2 are chasing, which means the decision is not which of the 3 to pick. The decision is whether you're going to own the layer at all, in any wrapper, for long enough to matter. 15 years sounds long until you realize you have already burned 15 years doing nothing. The nurse is not smarter than you. She just started earlier and did not interrupt the compounding. Compounding is the word everybody says and nobody feels. Here's what it actually means. The first 5 years feel like nothing. The middle 5 feel slow. The last 5 do 80% of the work. If you quit in year 7 because the number still looks small, you hand all of year 15 to somebody who stayed. Most people quit. That is why most people do not become the nurse in Ohio. The system is not rigged against you in the way you were told. It is not billionaires stealing your paycheck. It is a slow, quiet design that rewards the people who refuse to flinch for 15 years straight, and almost nobody in your life will encourage you to pick that posture. Your friends will mock the boring tickers. Your advisor will sell you the smooth ride. The news will tell you the sky is falling every Tuesday. You will have to hold a loan. That is the real cost, not money, loneliness, the willingness to look stupid for a decade so you do not have to look broke for a lifetime. That loneliness is what the nurse paid. That is why her account reads $112,000 and her coworker reads $29,000. The gap is not intelligence, it is nerve. So what do you do now? First, accept that you have been pointed in the wrong direction. Not by bad people, but by a system whose incentives line up against your net worth. Second, understand that the 3 funds we named are not a recommendation. They are a demonstration of what happens when you own the layer and refuse to sell. The tickers can change. The principle cannot. Third, look at your current retirement account. Look at how many funds you own. Look at how many of them overlap. Look at how much you're paying in management fees for that overlap. If you are paying more than 0.1% on any fund that is not doing something specific, you're funding somebody else's office, not your retirement. That math is not opinion. It is arithmetic. Fourth, pick your layer. It does not have to be technology. It just has to be something civilization is migrating toward, not away from. Something every other industry is becoming dependent on. Fifth, automate the deposit monthly, small, boring. The automation is the only part that actually works because it takes your flinching out of the equation. Six, and this is the hardest one, delete the app. Do not check. Let the years do what the years do. The nurse did not have willpower. She had forgetfulness worked. The cost of not doing this is not zero. It is the version of your life where you work just as hard, save roughly the same amount, and ended up with $30,000 instead of $100,000. That gap is the exact price of listening to the smooth ride instead of the layer. It is paid quietly over decades in silence, and you only notice it at the end when you cannot earn it back. The nurse in Ohio is not special. She is just one move ahead of the system that was designed to keep her average. Now you know the move. What you do with it from here is no longer an accident.